See, at first I was going to wait to do this video because it's late right now, but I was like, no, the interwebs are open all night, so y'all going to get this video. This is Rick and Chelsea from season 3 of the White Lotus, and I just want to say that this is not a love story. Contrary to what the articles online are saying and what the writer Mike White has said in a few of the interviews I've seen and just things that I've been saying online, this is not a love story. This is a toxic relationship. And what we saw was a slow, painful unraveling of a woman trying to save a broken man. He is the quintessential broken man, and it was so hard to watch. Especially because Chelsea is this optimistic, bubbly, 20-something-year-old who's full of life, and she's dating this man old enough to be her daddy, really old enough to be her granddaddy. And from the very first episode, you can tell that he is fucking annoyed by her, that he just does not like her. There's this one scene where they're talking, and at the end of the conversation, he just says, "You're an idiot." Like, damn. That one line told us everything we needed to know. Now, the reason I wanted to do like this deep dive into Rick and Chelsea is because at some point I was Chelsea. When I started my healing journey back in 2013, I was geeked up. And I had learned some tools and some mantras, some slogans. Like in the beginning, I used to be like, in order to heal, you got to keep it real. And I was, making mugs and stuff that said heal that shit. Like I was excited, right? And I wanted to help everybody, especially the ones I love. But eventually, I had to learn, and this is something that Chelsea didn't get a chance to learn, is that you can't save anybody who doesn't want to be saved. And your love is not enough to fix anyone. While I was watching this, because I'm really obsessed with like archetypes, I was just like, Chelsea is like the savior / rescuer archetype. She also falls in the line of the martyr archetype as well. Unfortunately, what she's doing is clinging to Rick's potential, and what that's doing is, what she thinks that's going to do is she's trying to love him into healing, and that doesn't work. She's doing all these mental gymnastics just to keep him from spiraling. And let's be honest, if you all have watched The White Lotus, especially season 3, he stays spiraling. So, like, this is an episode, like, in the beginning, they were cool. He was smiling and all of that. And she was just like, oh, you're free and blah, blah, blah. Because, yeah, I'll get into that maybe later. And so now he came back to the table after going to get some food. And look at his face. She's just like, what happened? So what makes this archetype so dangerous is that it slowly erodes your identity. You stop dreaming, you stop living, and your whole world becomes about keeping this broken person, this man, from being broken anymore. She became this woman that stood by him, even after he let these snakes out of the cage, these poisonous snakes, and one of these snakes actually bit her. That is not love, that's self-abandonment. And what makes it worse is that in the beginning of the show, Chelsea calls herself a hopeless romantic. And romance can be cute and all, but it can also be a trap, especially for women, for these 3 things. 1, we've been conditioned to believe love should hurt. That's 1. 2, we've been taught to be emotional caregivers. 3, and somehow that our worth is tied to how much bullshit we can endure. So Chelsea was doing all the loving, all the sacrificing, all the nurturing, and Rick was not doing shit in return. So, meanwhile, Rick is obsessed with getting revenge. And the thing is, revenge feels like relief, but it's actually a trap because it loops you into this thing like ruminating. So all you're doing is like thinking about getting this person back and plotting. So he was stuck in this rumination for like decades, right? And it was causing this disconnect between him and Chelsea. So Chelsea was on this spirituality kick. She was into like I said, she called herself like a healer. Well, I don't know if she called herself a healer, but she was considered like a healer, and she's really into like astrology. And she was just all like, the stars are aligned and we are soulmates. And he'll just be pretty much like, bitch, we ain't nothing. Our signs aren't even compatible. Like he was just dogging her through this entire fucking show. So there was some foreshadowing early on. She was just like, bad things happen in threes. So one of the things that the things that happened to her, the one thing, the store gets robbed where she was in, and it was just like she's like, oh, I could have died or whatever. The second thing was getting bit by that poisonous snake because he let these snakes out of the cage, right? And the third thing is, you guessed it. I didn't say it at the beginning, but I guess I should say like this is going to be some spoilers in here. I'm not really talking that much about it, but what I'm about to say is going to be a spoiler. So she gets caught in the crossfires of something that he does, being careless and reckless, and she ends up getting killed. Not one time in the show did he say that he loved her when, like, said it back when she said it. Not one time. Okay, so he was like never happy to see her, not for real. And it was just hard to watch because she's young. She really doesn't know any better. She really has this codependent relationship with him, and it was just hard to watch. So let me look on. I'm looking at my notes, right? You can say okay. So I did say earlier she was like the savior. She's the savior archetype, but the thing is, he couldn't even like himself, let alone like her. So it was a lost cause from the beginning, and the lesson here is that your love cannot save a man from himself. Especially not a man who didn't ask to be saved, doesn't think he needs saving, and has made peace with his own destruction. That is exactly what Rick did. The man who wouldn't even lift a finger to protect her had her out here riding or dying, and she ended up dying as a consequence. So, have you ever been with a Rick? Have you ever been a Chelsea? Let me know in the comments.